So this is the master production schedule grid. So we have a planning horizon, so that is in this case, say 5 weeks, for example. So in that case, the time bucket will be 1 week. If these are 5 months, then time bucket will be 1 month. So we need the forecast data as well as the confirmed customer orders. And as I mentioned in the introduction, that this MPS is made on rolling basis. So once we have executed the plan for period 1, then period 1 is sort of removed from this grid, and period 6 is added, and any changes in the plan are made if required. So the customer orders consume the forecast as we move on according to the plan. So projected available balance is the ending inventory. So the logic that we will be using in MPS as well as in MRP is the inventory is at the end of the period. So for example, these items are at the end of period 0. So this is the starting inventory for period 1. So the inventory that we will have here at the end of period 1 will be the starting inventory for period 2, and so on. Then we have available to promise, so we will discuss this point in one of the following segments, that this is the inventory or capacity that we can commit. So this is the inventory or capacity that we are having available after meeting the customer orders that are there in the MPS at the moment. So we will discuss the formula and details of ATP in one of the following segments. And the actual output of course, master production scheduling is master production schedule. So this is important to be kept in mind, that if we have, say, a master production schedule of 50 in period 2, so that means we need to have 50 items available at the start of period 2. So we have to then plan backward according to the lead time, of course, to decide when the production of items should start, so that we have the end item available at the start of period 2. So that is what we do in material requirements planning. So this actually, the quantity of 50, for example, in period 2 becomes an input to material requirements plan, and we will see actually this determines the gross requirements in material requirements planning. So I again repeat that if we have an MPS of 50 at the start of period 2, that means that we need to have 50 items available at the start of period 2. So in order to make sure, we have to schedule backward for the components and raw materials. They have different lead times, so we have to offset according to the lead time so that the final product is available at the start of period 2. Another important point is that this quantity is also important to be decided. So in simple words, we call it, I hope you remember that we call it the batch size. So this batch size is also important to be decided. And a very important point with respect to master production scheduling is that the quantity that we are planning to produce could be different than the customer orders, and that is generally the case. So the quantity that we are planning to produce actually is based on your production limitations and production capacity. So that could be very different than the customer orders that you have for that period. So we will come to this point later in the examples when we discuss that. But you have to keep in mind that these two quantities could be different. And simple answer so at the moment is that the units of production and units of demand generally, and they are different. So finally, what are the main inputs to MPS? So we have production plan, forecast for individual end items, actual orders. So as we saw in the grid in the previous slide, inventory levels for individual end items and capacity constraints. And what are the major outputs? So the amounts to be produced, MPS itself, projected available balance or ending inventory, available to promise. And once we discuss this available capacity, then accordingly, we can decide the staffing level or the resources required